Yeah. Just want to start off with a little interesting story. Interesting to hear that they bring down that Reb Chaim Kanievsky said over that Reb Chaim Kreisworth was once very sick, and he came to see the stipler. And the stipler told him that we find in the brisa that we say every morning after Birchas HaTorah, it says Elo Dvarim She'ech Adam Lecha Peresem B'Olam Hazeh by Karen Kiyamas Le'Olam Haba. It says in that list it mentions Bikur Cholim, Achnasas Kala, and Levayas Hameis. So Chaim asked him that why is Achnasas Kala in between Bikur Cholim and Levayas Hameis? It's not its proper place. It should be Bikur Cholim and Levayas Hameis. That's like, you usually do Bikur Cholim, someone's sick, and sometimes, unfortunately, the person dies and you do Levayas Hameis. Where does Achnasas Kala come in? So he says, Vais Techois, that Achnasas Kala is like a barrier, a hefsek between Bikur Cholim and Levayas Hameis. That if someone's sick and he wants to not lead to Levayas Hameis, he should be oisig in Achnasas Kala. So I think the Olam heard I was talking about Bikur Cholim, so they ran to do Achnasas Kala. Anyways, so state that in the Iker halacha in the Indian of Bikur Cholim. So I want to discuss a few small points, a few small shilas, and maybe we'll put it together. Now, who's this chiyuv on? That it says that. No, I'm going to do it in my heart. So that who's this? Who's the chiyuv on? What's the chiyuv of Bikur Cholim on? So the Torah says that Bikur Cholim is that the Bikur Cholim, there's a halacha that someone gets sick, everyone goes to do Bikur Cholim. And the Charataka Paskins like that even Gadol it's a katan, everyone has the chiyuv to go do Bikur Cholim and to visit the person who's sick. And apparently there's no Indian of Zokan in Fichvaydim when it comes to Bikur Cholim. Like we find that by a Shabbos Aveda, that someone finds a Aveda which is not a Fichvaydim to carry in the streets, he's patur from picking it up. So, but when it comes to Bikur Cholim, everyone's mechuyev. And Moshe has a tshuva about this. I don't know how much really shaila it is, but he discusses it. And he says that the whole Indian of Zakim Ein L'Chichvaydi, I think he says a chiddush that we only find, I think, by Hashavas Aveda. But usually, you have a mitzvah to do. There's no Indian of Ein L'Chichvaydi in that, because, that's what the covet is. You do what Hashem says. You do the mitzvah of Hashem. And we find this week's parasha, Kadosh Baruch Hu went to Mivaka Chayla Avram Avinu. And that's really one of the Bikur that the Torah really brings down, that everyone goes to do Bikur Cholim, that Shekem Matzino V'Kadosh Baruch Hu Shemavaka Cholim. And he brings down Vayer Elav Hashem B'Elonim Mamre. That's this week's parsha. So what's exactly the chiyuv? So the Reb Chaim Kanievsky in Orchos Yosher, he brings a Rambam, and I think the Rambam says that Bikur Cholim is part of the regular mitzvah deraisa like Milas Chasadim. There's a general mitzvah of Milas Chasadim. And besides that, it sounds like the Rabbanan made a special mitzvah to do Bikur Cholim. Besides the mitzvah deraisa, there's a special mitzvah. And he asks, what's the nafkamina? Why, once he's already a chiyuv deraisa like Milas Chasadim, what was the Indian that Chazal had to make a special mitzvah of Bikur Cholim and all the other mitzvahs that the Rambam has over there? And he says these different nafkaminas. Let's say, sometimes if it's like a mitzvah klolis like Milas Chasadim, that a person doesn't have to be busy with Milas Chasadim all day. He can go do, if he has his own personal needs that he needs to do, they could come first before doing general Milas Chasadim. But once Chazal made a special mitzvah Bikur Cholim, so that even though you may have done mitzvah, you may have done already chesed that day, you may have other needs that you have to take care of, that you don't have to, that Milas Chasadim doesn't come before. But once you have a mitzvah Bikur Cholim, it's like Nar Chanukah and any other mitzvah D'Rabbanan, they have a chiyuv to go do it. You can't just push it off and say, I have to go do something else. That's how he wants to explain the chiyuv. So, what exactly is the what is one trying to accomplish the Bikur Cholim? What's the inyan when you go Mivaka Cholim? What's the inyan that we're trying to do to accomplish? So the Beis Yosef, he brings our Ramban, and he says that there's one inyan of Bikur Cholim that when you go Mivaka Cholim, you go check your ma'ayin, what he needs, your mechabed and your meravitz, the bias. And there's a story in the Gemara somewhere. I think Tovia Holzer said it over this morning by his bris. He spoke about this inyan that I think it was Rabbi Kiva that went to the Talmud that was sick, and he was mechaben and meravitz the bias, and the Talmud said, Rebbe Yechisoni, you were mechayim me, you made me, you saved my life. And then Rabbi Kiva went out on a darshan and said, whoever doesn't go mivaka chel is kilu shoyfech damim. So we see it's a very stark inyan of being mivaka chel to take care of what he needs to be mechaben the bias and make it a comfortable situation for him. And then the Ramban's lashon is, and then you put him basically in a good mood, and you lift up his spirits, and that's what you're trying to do with this mitzvah bikur chayla. You made like a nachas ruach with your friends. And another point is that the Ramban says you should at least you should mechaven daitil rachim veyivakish alav. There's another inyan that you do bikur chaylim, you should daven for him. So it's not just daven that you go do bikur chaylim and you daven. No, part of the mitzvah of bikur chaylim is davening for the chayil that you went to visit. And Ramban says if it comes out that if someone went to mivaka chayla and he doesn't daven, he didn't fulfill the mitzvah properly. So part of the bikur chaylim is davening. Like some want to say that's the main mitzvah of bikur chaylim is to actually to daven for him. Or Moshe says he's not so happy with that. He says make a taste of the thing. The Indian Akiva Rebitz is mentioned in the Gemara as well to say that this is main the ikr over the other. There's no reason to do that. But Hamiyas, it's clear that this is a part and parcel of the mitzvah of bikur chaylim to daven for the chaylim. The shaila is there an inyan of bikur chaylim just to go visit somebody, just to lift up his spirit, not to minchab and rabbits, not to daven. Just is there an inyan of bikur chaylim going to visit the person and he's happy to see you. That you took time out of your day to visit him and you mean something to him. Is there an inyan of bikur chaylim in that? So I don't know, the Ramban, I'm not sure, you could clarify about it. There's an interesting rush that my first Seder Charusa showed me, that in this week's parsha actually, the Pirush Rush, the first one in this parsha, he says that when Avram and HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to visit Avram Avinu, he says that he understands all HaKadosh Baruch Hu did was to go visit him. Like Shul B'Shleima, he didn't really do anything. He just came to visit Avram Avinu. And he says, you see from here, that going to visit a chayla, the mere fact of visiting the chayla and just showing that, making him happy that you came to visit, that's also a mitzvah bikur chaylim. And he says, comes out, if you visit a chayla that's sleeping and he doesn't know that you visited him, but when he wakes up, his bnei abayis will tell him that you came to visit him, and he's going to be happy that you came, you're mekayim the mitzvah bikur chaylim. So I don't know if exactly, so how means you see that it's very, very much that visiting the chayla and just making him happy that you came is definitely part of the mitzvah bikur chayla. No, the Ramban, just to put it together, though. So there's like 3 points. Just to summarize what we're saying over here. There's 3 points of real bikur chayla. One is to be bachab and rabbis the bias, take care of his needs. One is to secondly is the need to daven for him. And thirdly, there's inyan of just visiting him and lifting up his spirits that you took time out of your day to visit him and to show him that you care. In the inyan that you care, so the Ramban, the Rosh says that you're Makai in the mitzvah. So I don't know if the Rosh means that the whole mitzvah of bikur chaylim is to visit him and lift up his spirits. The Ramban says you didn't daven, you didn't fulfill it, you didn't fulfill the mitzvah properly. Could be there's 2 points of bikur chaylim. Perhaps there's the overall chiv, what a person has to try to accomplish, like the whole chiv of bikur chaylim is to fill all these points. And there's another point of bikur chaylim that even if someone is not able to fulfill all these points, let's say when he visited him, he can't he can't daven for him at that point. For whatever reason, he can't daven. But that alone, that he went to visit him, could be these different. You could break up the parts of Bikur Cholim to different parts, even though you were not mekayim your whole chiyuv, but you could fulfill different parts of it as well. No, there's in certain cases, let's say like the Mechaber has a case, for example, just to bring out this point, that let's say there's certain cholim that you're not supposed to go in to be mevakar cholim, like into the inner room. For example, there's a cholim, let's say he's sick with his stomach and he has to constantly relieve himself. Or there's certain type of sicknesses that they're sick in the eyes and it's very hard for them to talk. So Mechaber says in those cases a person should not go in because it can make the chayil very uncomfortable. Firstly, he can be embarrassed, and also if he's hard for him to talk, it's going to be a tirch on him, and you're not going to accomplish much by going in. So it's better just to go outside and try to take care of stuff outside even without seeing him. So the question is, there you're not seeing him, and you're not leading to this Indian of davening for him, but still, Mechaber says you should go and do what you can. So Moshe says, you see from here that even though there are times that a person can't fully fulfill the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim, but if there are parts that he could do, there is still a mitzvah to do those parts that he can do.
Could you be kind of mitzvah without going from the fall and just taking care of his needs from the fall?
So could be part. So it depends. Yeah, you could be not going to be mekayim the whole mitzvah, the chiyuv that you have. Like I'll get to that point. Like I'll go to that shayla. Moshe has a shayla. Let's say you call someone up on a telephone. Is that a mitzvah Bikur Cholim? You mekayim mitzvah Bikur Cholim with that. So he wants to say that you can't say that you fulfilled your chiyuv Bikur Cholim. The chiyuv Bikur Cholim, what you need to do, that Chazal say, he doesn't explain this exactly what the chiyuv is, but I understood it to mean like all these points that were doing all these points together to take care of his needs, seeing him and davening for him, and lifting up his spirits, all those things. That's the whole chiyuv of Bikur Cholim. But when you're calling someone on the telephone, he wants to say, you're not fulfilling your chiyuv Bikur Cholim. It could be your mekayim parts of the mitzvah Bikur Cholim. He doesn't explain which ones. I'm assuming he means, let's say, maybe lifting up his spirits, making him an achas ruach, that you took time out of your day to call him. Maybe even if you, like you're saying, speaking, taking care of his needs from afar, whatever you could do. But you're not fulfilling the whole chiyuv. And Moshe says clearly in that tshuva, because the Indian of davening is only specifically when you see the chayil, you see how he's feeling. That's when you're gonna have this Indian of davening for the chayil to daven for him. And he says an interesting thing. He says could be part of the davening for a chayil is davening like next to the mitah of the chayil. Why? Because by the mitah of the chayil, the tefillah is more niskabel because the shechina is over there. So when you're not there, so it could be you're not fulfilling the mitzvah tefillah the way you should be, or the way you could at least. And so that was that.
Enough minute for a video call.
What?
Enough minute for a video call.
If he sees you.
We see each other, we're not next to the meeting.
Right. There. Interesting. Right. And then the Gabi, the other idea, let's say when you're visiting the other point, that just to go back to the other point of visiting a chayla that unfortunately unconscious and doesn't see that you're coming. Let's say the Rosh discusses a story where you're visiting a chayla and he's sleeping, and when he wakes up, the Bnei Bayis tell him that you came to visit, and that makes him an achas ruach. That could be the mitzvah Bikur Cholim. The shaila is, let's say, unfortunately, the chayil never wakes up. Is there any mitzvah Bikur Cholim of that? So it really depends what the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim would be when you visit him when you're visiting him. So the way the Ramban says that, he says when you come to visit him and take, what will be a practical case? I mean, the guy never woke up. You never made him an achas ruach technically by him knowing that you were there. But let's say you davened for him, you visited him, or you took care of some of the needs that he had around the house. Were you fulfilling the mitzvah Bikur Cholim with that? So maybe the Indian tefillah, we could assume that why not? Maybe you saw him and you davened, so there's no reason to assume that you weren't mekayim the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim in that regard. But the shaila is, let's say in that you took care of his needs, let's say you cleaned up the house around him. Is there what we could clear a shiloh? And this is the idea that we're cleaning up the house and you're making the house though no geshmak for the chayla. Is that an Indian like to help him get better, Or is that an Indian that, like the Ramban says, when you do that, you make a nachas ruach for him? It's also part of nachas ruach. When you're cleaning up the house and you're taking care of him, so that also leads to a certain type of nachas ruach that that you took care of him. So if that's the reason of the mechab and the rabbis the bias, could be if the chayil never wakes up, could be that you'll never really fulfill unfortunately if the chayil never finds out that you did that for him.
What is it? He's sunny. It sounds like that it's like a machayim, he's not making it better.
Right, so he's saying could be it's specifically for.
Yeah, you don't.
Right. Yeah, you know what I mean.
If they don't tell him, if he wakes up and they forgot to tell him.
So then also you didn't fulfill.
He did. Yeah, he got better.
Oh, you're saying what? Maybe if you woke up and you realize that the house is clean.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Could be if you didn't know who did it. So I don't know how much. I hear. There's one more last shayla. Let's say the shayla is I was wondering if you meet someone in the shuk, so you see someone walking around with a brace, a pad, whatever, different types of bandages, and you ask the person, how you doing, how you feeling, what happened, and you show interest in that. Is that an Indian a Bikur Cholim? I don't know. Well, I'm not sure. It depends. One side was that Bikur Cholim is visiting the person who's sick. So if the tour of the mitzvah is like visiting the person who's sick, and you met a guy happened to be in the shuk in the marketplace, and you asked him how he's doing. So I don't know if you had, it could be you did give me a sasadim, you showed him you cared, you kind of have to l'recha kamoicha. But I don't know if that was the ifin of Bikur Cholim that the Chazal said that they want you to do. The other hand, some say that I was handling someone before. He said Bikur Cholim means like the mevacher. You're investigating. What the chayil is doing, how he's doing. So perhaps that is a mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. So I know there's a Gemara in the Dharm, I think in the Daf Tes, and I couldn't fully understand it yet. If you look at there, perhaps there's a raya from there that would be Bikur Cholim. It's the story over there is that you said you're not going to have you make a neder that you're not going to have enough from a certain person. The Gemara says that if that person gets sick, the Gemara has a whole lacha if you allowed to go visit him. But if the person's son gets sick, you're not allowed to go visit the son because you're not allowed to have because that for whoever the Hatirim and the Gemara there don't apply. But rather, if you find him in the shuk, you can ask him how he's doing. So I think where Moshe sounds like that isn't in your Bikur Cholim over there in such a case, even though you're not going to visit him, but you're not fulfilling the whole mechaber and merabetz abayis. However, there are points of Bikur Cholim showing interest in mechayim. Could be that isn't in your as well a Bikur Cholim. Yeah, after the Iker, but not the Iker, the Kana Bikur Cholim. All right, shkach.
Yeah.